Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly episode. This is episode number 121, and it's June the 29th, 2021. Hard to believe that we're about to move into the hot months or the dog days of summer. Although here right now the temperature's been very high. It's been very high across Canada actually, which is a little unusual for this time of the year for us, but I'm not complaining because we get lots of cold weather more times out of the year than we get weather like this, so I'm just going to enjoy it. Also helps when you have AC as well. Okay, so behind me, I finally finished it, the mystery quilt. This was the one that was done with my ex-guild, and just as a side note, now that I have finished this quilt, I am also completely finished with the guild. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look at past episodes. Anyways, it's done. I'm not that happy with it. In real life, it doesn't look bad. With what you're seeing on the video, it doesn't translate very well into the video I found for some reason, probably because of the fabric choices. Being a mystery quilt, there was some guideline on what colors to pick, but nothing more than, some darks, some lights, some mediums. So I decided to use in this, the greeny yellowy part is Tim Holtz fabric. Because you know how I love Tim Holtz. His fabric though, and this is a lesson for me for future projects, his fabric is very busy for the most part, so maybe better to use it in smaller quantities than I did with this quilt, because it is kind of overpowering, at least I think it is. So yeah, this one is done. The design of it with the fabrics I picked don't show up as well as they could. I did do free motion quilting on this, just simple sort of, up and down, whatever you want to call those kind of lines, meandering lines sort of a thing. And in the borders I did some straight line and wavy line walking foot quilting as well in it. It's all done. It's different, I will say that. The colors in it I like. I just don't think this was a great combination. But you win some, you lose some. I'm not going to cry over it. Done is better than perfect, as they say. But speaking of done, I did get one of my UFOs done as well. So I'm going to put that up here for you to see. So just give me a sec. Now this quilt is one that's been sitting in my UFO pile for quite some time. I made this quilt over a year and a half ago, I think. And it's called Jagged X's. I believe it was a free pattern from Jordan Fabrics, and I basically made it using scraps. It's a little different as well. It's very busy. But it kind of grew on me as time went on. Now, I did finally quilt it. In fact, I was on a roll because when I finished the mystery quilt and got it all quilted, I figured I'm all set up out in my rec room for quilting, so I might as well do another, do a UFO. And so I got this one out, and I didn't do free motion quilting on this one. I did walking foot. My famous serpentine line walking foot. I love that pattern. I mean, I'm sorry, it's still quilting. And some straight lines on the outside of it, and it turned out pretty good. No tucks in this. No tucks in my mystery quilt either, because I'm pinning now. When I baste it, I do use both spray basting and pins. And that seems to work for me very well. Yes, it's a little bit tedious. It's just a little bit more time consuming to put all those pins in. But my idea is that I do that. I don't have any tucks, so I'd rather spend the time pinning it than having tucks. So yeah, it's all done. It's a little different in its color combination. It's sort of out of my comfort zone because there's a lot of greens and browns in it, and those are two colors I do shy away from. But it's scraps, it used up scraps. So yeah, all done. Another one to the list. I still have more UFOs to go, however. Okay, what else have I been making? Well, I've been doing some 3D printing as well, and I made this cute little bunny pin cushion. Now when I make these pin cushions, usually they are designed to be flower pots, and I alter the size of them so they accommodate more of a pin cushion look. So this guy, I shrunk him down, and he's cute. He's in geometrics. And this is supposed to be bronze filament, they call it. I think it's more of an olive. And I thought that might be a little too small, so I blew him up a little bit bigger as well. So I've got two versions of this bunny. You know, a little one could sit right on your sewing machine and this one off to the side or something like that. Anyways, I have quite a collection of these right now. In fact, I've got so many of them that I had Walter build me another shelf in my sewing room, which isn't easy because there isn't a lot of wall space left. Every inch of this room is pretty much taken up, but we did find an area, so I'm looking over to the side because that's where it is, and so all my pin cushions sit on there. Now my idea is, and I think I've mentioned this before, that these will become Christmas presents, but right now I am doing, you might say, prototypes, and the ones that I like the best are the ones I'll spend time before Christmas printing out and giving them as gifts. In fact, later today, I think I'm going to, even though it's just the end of June, I'm going to start putting together my idea for Christmas projects in terms of gifts, because, you know, these things take time, and if you've got a lot to make, and I do have quite a few to make, you want to get started early. Okay. The other thing I made in the 3D printer is another ruler holder. Now I've shown you back in the past a couple of ruler holders that I did make with the 3D printer, but they were kind of flat ones. This one is a tiered one, and this is what it looks like with rulers in it. And I think that's pretty neat. This one at the back is actually meant for pens and things like that, but I have more rulers in it because I've got more rulers than I know what to do with. I can tell you that. I'm a ruler junkie. I have slowed down in time now getting rulers because I think I've got them all, or they start to do repeats, you know. But that's the dangers when you first get into quilting. You buy everything, and that's what I did, and one of those everything were the rulers. Okay, so have I made any other purchases? Yes, I have. I bought this little thingy right here. Now this is actually a 3D printed device, but I did not 3D print it. But I saw it online, and it comes from a place called Purple Hobbies. I didn't actually buy it directly from Purple Hobbies. I bought it from a Canadian outlet that, and I can't tell you what the name of it is right now, I forgot. But they must buy them wholesale from Purple Hobbies. And I did check out Purple Hobbies site, and a lot of their gizmos are all 3D printed. So I suspect that they have a 3D printer in-house, probably more than one. And they have someone who knows what they're doing with 3D printing, and maybe they design these things and print them out and they sell them. But it's a magnet. The magnet's up in here, and it's a flat bottom here. So what it does is, let me grab a thing of pins. Okay, I've got a box full of pins. Let's say these are all spread out all over your sewing table and you're trying to clean up. So you just take this device and and it's a pretty strong magnet, as you can see. And then when you want to drop them back in or release them to the container you want to put them in, you just push that down. It's a really clever design. Let's see that again. Pick up the pins, push the little clamp thing, they drop right off. Now, the principle behind this really is that there's a high-powered magnet in this piece up here, and when you do this, you're removing the magnet far enough away from this part that releases the pins. Pretty simple device, but very, very effective. And I don't think it was very expensive. Mind you, if I'd had the design for this, I could have made it for pennies. I think it cost me 10 bucks to order it. However, I did look online to see, you know, if I could find the model. They call it a model before you print it, that maybe somebody posted, and I cannot find it online. So they have the design for this very well protected, because I think it works really well. And actually, I'm looking at it now, and they've designed this piece like a clothes peg. It's obviously somebody who knows what they're doing in design. I'm not one of those kind of people. I haven't figured out how to design my own products yet. It can be done. I just need to dedicate time to it. But, you know, if I can get them, why make them? You know, like, or if I can get the design for it, then I'll print it out. So that was one item. But I bought another thing, and this one is also 3D printed. And it's this little blue thing down here, and it's called the Third Hand Binding Folder Clip. Again, it's from Purple Hobbies. If you want to check out Purple Hobbies, go to purplehobbies.com. It's 3D printed. Pretty simple looking little device. I think this one ran me about 20 bucks. Yeah, 1998 Canadian. But what it is for making your binding on your quilt. You put your 2.5 inch or 2.25 inch strip into this. Well, first of all, there's a little butterfly nut on here. You just loosen that off. This slides. You clamp it onto the end of your ironing board or your ironing table or whatever. Tighten it up. Stick your 2.5 inch or 2.25 inch width of fabric strip into the side part here. There's a little hole in the top so you can see it going in, and you may have to take a pin, and I did, and it tells you that in instructions, just to pull it through. So when it comes out this side, it folds it automatically in half, and so you lay your iron down on top of it and you just pull the strip through. It works like a charm. Now you're going to say, well, yeah, big deal, 20 bucks, you know, I can fold my fabric. Yes, you can. But I find that very tedious. When you're talking about a continuous piece of fabric that's possibly 200 or 300 inches long, that takes some time to do. This, you just pull it through, your iron's on it at the same time, you're done in literally in minutes. Like a minute or more. I couldn't believe it. So as far as I'm concerned, yes, it's possibly overpriced, but it works. So, you know, if it works, it's worth the money. That's the way I look at it. And this one definitely works. And again, I looked for this design in the sites I go to for 3D models. No luck, couldn't find it. However, having said that, if you're looking for things that will make bias tape, there are, if you have a 3D printer, there are all kinds of bias tape makers that you can print on your 3D printer. Now, I haven't tried any of them yet. Well, one reason it's not imperative to me is I don't usually have to make bias binding because the only time I need binding is for the edge of a quilt. And funny, bias binding makers that you buy in the store are meant for clothing manufacturers or people who sew garments. They don't have ones, that, at least I haven't found any, that actually just fold the fabric in half, not, you know, in quarters, if you know what I mean. And you end up with a 2.5 inch, or you end up with a 1.25 inch piece. Maybe there are some out there, I just haven't found them. But anyways, love this. It's working like a charm. Okay, and there's more, a lot more, because I went shopping on the weekend. There is a quilt store called Annie's that is not too far from me. It's to the east of where I live, half an hour away, something like that. And it's a quaint little shop that I really like. She has a good selection of fabrics, and they're different from what the fabrics are at Ultimate Sewing. So I am not cheating on Ultimate Sewing when I go there. Because, you know, every quilt shop has their own atmosphere, their own flavor of the type of fabrics that they have. So Annie's was having a big sale on the weekend, a tent sale they called it. And they're not usually open on Sundays, but they were open because of this particular sale this past Sunday. So off Walter and I went. Now, we still have restrictions on shopping here in Ontario. They say now that, you know, you can allow, I think, 25% of the capacity of your store in terms of people in. So Annie's had to follow that. Now they're very, very tiny, so they basically could only allow 2 people in at a time. They had a lot of their stuff outside. They did have a big canopy and that kind of thing. And they have sort of a front porch on the design of their store as well. But when you went in, you had to wear your mask. You had to social distance. They took your name and everything, contact list, okay, which is a standard procedure here in Ontario for most places. They had hand sanitizer, and they gave you a pair of disposable gloves and asked you to wear those during your shopping. So you're touching things through the gloves. That part might be overkill. I'm not sure, but you know, better overkill than not doing enough. So we went shopping. Now, I was only kind of thinking I'd buy, you know, a couple of meters here and there. I wasn't buying a whole lot. Walter didn't have anything specific he wanted. Yeah, okay. $535 later, I was finished shopping. Over $200, Walter was finished shopping. In for a penny, in for a pound. Well, I have a big bag of stuff, and so I thought I would do an unbagging for you. And I've already recorded this, so I'm going to insert the video of that in here for you right now. Okay, so now it's time to do an unbagging. A little different from an unboxing. So, I said I spent a lot of money at Annie's, which is a local quilt store in a couple of towns to the east of me. Don't go there very often, but she had a big sale on, a tent sale. And it was a Sunday afternoon, and she's not usually open on Sundays either. So off we went. Now, we had to sign in for COVID tracing. We had to wear our masks. We had to wear gloves. They gave us disposable gloves as well, which might be overkill, but then again, I'd rather too much than too little. So outside, they had some bargain bins. And I didn't look at too many of the things that were in that, although I think I did purchase a couple of things. Even though this was just the other day, I have forgotten what I bought. So this is going to be a bit of a surprise for me as it is for you. So let's start. What's on the top? This. I could not resist this fabric. It is so pretty. And I bought it in conjunction with this. And you know how I am about butterflies. And if you're interested in who this is by, it's Clothworks is the company. And it's called Sunny Fields by Sue Zipkin, I think is the name that's on it. And I think this is part of the same line. Just let me see. Okay, find the selvage. Selvage is here somewhere. Okay. No, this is not the same line. This is Wellington prints. It's called Essentials Hello Angel. I don't know, the names always confuse me because gives you so many different names. But anyways, so I've got these two, plus I bought this one, which I think will go with this okay, and I think it will go with this pretty good. And just to give a little bit lighter, but on the same theme with the butterflies, I picked up this one. Now, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think these two butterfly prints would work together? I think so. Blue and yellow work together. And I think we can get a little bit of this in here too. And the other one. So, yeah. So they were just too pretty to resist. So I didn't resist. Now, I have some fabric coming from the Jelly Roll shop. And it's for a specific pattern, which I'm going to show you in a bit. And it called for a geometric as one of the fabrics in outline. And they did in the pattern say which one you want, they thought you should use, but Jelly Roll did not have that fabric. So I went looking, and this is what I picked up. And I think this will work very well with those other patterns, which I will show you when I get them. They have not arrived yet from the Jelly Roll company. Now, originally I intended to pick up a bit of Christmas fabric, if they had any. Do I need more Christmas fabric? No, I have a ton of it left over from last year, but I love Christmas fabric. So they had on sale outside in the tent this, which is 1.8 meters. They had it labeled for 10 bucks, I think, which is pretty good. It's almost 2 meters for 10 bucks. And this is 1.5 meters in the same price. So I got those, but in the store off the bolt, I got 2 meters of this. And I picked this one because it's got your traditional Christmas colors in it, plus it's, you know, I think it'll go almost with anything in the Christmas line. And last year I had so much fun with the gnomes, I had to buy more gnome fabric. And this is a little different from what I bought last year, but I think I still have some of last year's left over, so I think it'll all go together very well. What else is in my bag of tricks? Okay, I saw this. It was expensive, but it is Fairy Frost. It is a fat quarter bundle, and there are, well, it's the whole line of the Fairy Frost, and I already have some of the Fairy Frost, as you know, in yardage. 29 pieces, 18 by 22, and they're copper, or they're colored metallics, they call them. They all sparkle. So it's the whole line pretty much in this. Wanted to guess how much this cost? $165 Canadian. But I saw it, it's pretty, I had to have it. So at this point, I'm well into this, so I've just kept going. So I got this. It is a panel. Now I've had some of the fabric in this line before. Lately, you know, I've been doing things with panels, so I got this one of the cats. See if I can get it opened up. It's by Ann Lauer of Grizzly Gulch Galleries for Benertex. So you can use it as a whole panel. You could cut those pieces out. You could do a lot of things with this. I might incorporate this with some embroidery patterns that I have that are on a similar vein to this. I don't know. I have to think about that. And maybe it'll be a wall hanging. Maybe it'll be a quilt. I don't know. What else is in my bag? Oh yes, I bought another jelly roll. Now, this is Northcott. It's called Dublin. It's by Deborah Edwards. It was 50 bucks for 40 strips. But, you know, it's good. It's got sort of your basics. They read as solids, but there is a little bit of a line to them. And I think it's always good to have something like this on hand. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Now, there was a freebie. Yes, in the bottom of these bags, they gave us these bags when we walked in, there was a freebie. And here's the freebie, and I haven't opened it up yet, and it looks like I'm going to have to cut the ribbon that's around it, and it feels like it's flannel. Okay, not a fan of flannel, because I really don't know what to do with it, but it was free, so what the heck, eh? Ooh, your basic brown. Something with a paw print on it or a footprint on it. And here's the same one in a different colorway. Looks like Bigfoot feet. Oh, yeah, it is Bigfoot feet because there's this piece. So really, there's not a heck of a lot here. So what am I going to do with these? I don't know. But I have them. They were free, as I said. So they will go into sort of my fat quarter drawer. And who knows, down the road, I might be able to do something with them. Now, I did buy some notions. I bought these. This is an Emmeline bag piece. It's meant for, it's the large one frame. And I don't know if I ordered some of these or not. Gotta look at my supplies. But I know that in a lot of their bag designs, this is incorporated into it so it can open up the bag. If you look at that one at the top, if the glare comes off it, You can see where that goes. So I thought, it wasn't expensive, it was $6. So I thought I'd pick one up. And then I bought these. Now these I am going to demonstrate and see how I like them. These were an expensive little gizmo. These are called the Wonder Pens by Clover. And this is something they've just come out with. Now you can see the price on it if I get the glare off. $26.50 for 20 of these little clips. And these are quilting pins, okay? Quilting safety pins. They're supposed to be really easy to use the way they're designed. Now I've read mixed reviews about these. Initially, I was going to order like 5 packages of these so I'd have 100 of them. So that was well over $100. But then I held off on it, and then I saw them at Annie's, and so I picked them up. Now, in a sense, I did not pay $26.50 for them. I got $25 off. It was part of the special that day on the overall order, so basically I got these for almost nothing. So we'll see how these work. But that'll be in one of my other episodes when I do that. So my bag is empty, as you can see. So in total, that was over $525, which included some discounts I got because there was no tax that day. So yeah, I went on a major shopping spree. But you know, retail therapy, you need it every now and then, don't you? So yeah, now I have to find a place to put them all. Thinking about that. Okay, so yep, lots of fun. Now I've got to find places to put it all. Okay, so that takes me to my demo this week. Now, a lot of people have, one of the questions a lot of people have is, how do you hang your quilts if you want to put them on display? Or, you know, banners or, you know, wall hangings, things like that. And I have several things hanging up on the walls of my house. I would like to hang up more, but I'm running out of walls. So, of course, you know, you can do it with a sleeve. But I hate making a hanging sleeve. And then you got to put it on a curtain rod, and then you have to have brackets to hold the curtain rod, and blah, 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 blah. Well, I have another method that works really well for me, and it involves using curtain rings and command hooks. So I made a little video here I'm going to insert right now to show you what I'm talking about. One of the most popular questions that are out there is, how do you hang your quilts for display? Now, you could make a sleeve on the back, put a curtain rod through it, and mount the bracketing to your wall, and that would work very, very well. There are hangers you can buy that look like wood. They screw into your wall, and then they clamp onto your quilt. But I have found the simplest method, and that works very effective for me, is to use the system I'm showing you right here, which is curtain rings with a clip on them and command hooks. Let me take you up a little bit closer to what I'm talking about. So you can see here, what I've done is I've hung a command hook. Now command hooks can hold, depending on the hook that you kind of buy, can hold a lot of pounds. So these ones that I purchase hold up to about 5 pounds, and they work very, very well for a quilt. Now these curtain rings that I bought, you can see have a little clip on them, sort of like a clothes peg. And you just clamp them onto the binding of your quilt and suspend the ring from the command hook, and you're all set up. This works, I am finding, very well. But one of the beauties of this is you can swap out your quilts very easily just by taking them off the hooks, taking the rings off, and reclipping them to another quilt. And you can use them for various size quilts. You see here along my stairwell, I have the same system. So this is the system that I'm using, and I buy my command hooks actually from Amazon. I get quite a few hooks for a really good price, a lot cheaper than buying them in the actual store. And as I said, they hold very well. And I also bought the rings. Just look for curtain ring clips, and you'll find these. And I just bought a bag of 50 of them for under 50 for under $20. So that's pretty good. The other thing too about using command hooks is they don't really mark your walls if you need to take them down. They're really easy to remove and they don't peel up your paint in most cases. Sometimes you can have a little accident. So that's how I'm hanging my quilts now, and it's working out very, very well for me. So that's how I do it, and it's working out for me. Okay, so I have an interview I did this week. Well, actually I did it last week, but I'm putting it up today. And it is with somebody that I call a friend, even though we have never ever physically met. But she is a regular on all of my YouTube channels. She and her sister both. And you've already seen her sister's interview if you're watching the interview series. And that was Jeannie. Well, this is Jeannie's sister. Her name is Andrea Roberts, or as I call her, and she prefers to be called, Andy. And I interviewed her. So I'm going to put in a little teaser in here right now for you, and you can go and check out the full interview, and the links are in the show notes below. Did anybody in your family influence you? And what I mean by that is, did you have, like when you were growing up, were there people in your family that were also doing crafts of one sort or another?
No, not really. When Jeannie mentioned that she was doing sewing, she was older than I was. So when she was going out and doing that with her friend Brenda, I didn't really notice or see any of that. So basically, it was not until I moved to Chicago that I really got into the crafting. I did do some sewing in high school. I made my clothes when I was in high school. And the only other major thing that I did before then, when I got married, I made my wedding dress. I sewed my wedding dress.
That's a lot of work. And here you are with the beads saying that put you off cross stitching. Did making a wedding dress put you off of sewing? Because I've heard those aren't easy.
This was a different wedding dress, and to this day, I'm amazed that my parents never disagreed or tried to discourage me. I decided I didn't want to go with a white dress.
Okay, so other things that are in the show notes. There is now the Zoom link for Craft and Chat. It doesn't happen this week. It's next week on July the 7th, 2021. And as usual, I hope you can join me. It's for anybody who crafts any kind of craft. And it's just fun. It's just relaxing. It's very informal. So the link for that is in the show notes. There is also the link now for what I call Stephen's Creative Birthday Bash, which is going to be on Saturday, July the 10th, 2021, starting at 9 a.m. in the morning and running until 5 p.m. In the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. Again, it's a drop-in kind of thing. Stay as long as you wish. Come when you want to come. Go when you want to go. It's going to be very relaxed. I do have a couple of things I'm planning during the day as well. But overall, it's going to be very informal. But it's just to keep me company because that's 4 days before my actual birthday. And for me, this is my birthday celebration. And I want to celebrate it with you. So, be sure to check that out, and if you're able to join us that day, I hope you will. Okay, there's also a link for the latest issue of this, or episode of So Chatty, episode 14, where we talk about terminology. And there's a link to YouTube of the week, which we'll come to shortly, and the pattern I'm going to talk about. And of course, there are my 3 favorite quilt stores. Used to be 2, now it's 3. There's links for all 3 of those in the show notes. So let's talk about the YouTube channel of the week. Now this is called Pattern Poole, and they're out of Australia. Now I have bought some of their applique patterns because that's what they specialize in. In the past, I bought a whole bunch of them when I was working on my Australian quilt. I have not done all the appliques. Because I just didn't. But in the Australian quilt, I had the kangaroo on there, so you've already seen that in a past episode. But what I find with this company is that their patterns are very bright and bold, and they're easy to follow. The instructions are very, very clear. The patterns are a very reasonable price, and you can download them as well. So, you know, even though they're in Australia, you can purchase them online and download them. Now, Australian dollar, one thing I like about buying things from Australia is that their dollar is usually par with ours, Canadian dollar, and in some cases our dollar tends to be a few cents better than theirs too. So, bargain. When you're so used to buying things in American dollars and the exchange rate sucks between our two countries, it's nice to buy something online that basically you don't have to do any currency conversion because it's pretty much the same. So I just want to read you the description that they have put up on their YouTube channel. Now, they show you how to do their patterns. Their applique patterns. So if you're new to applique, you'll find this very, very helpful. They say, "Hi, my name is Monica, and I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to my channel, where our goal is to bring you ultimate sewing tutorials where you can learn all you need to empower yourself to quilt, sew your own clothes, and textile creations. I'm guessing if you're here, you are into all things sewing, and your luck, as we will be posting a new video every week. I love sewing, design, creativity, and I'm so glad that we have modern technology so I can connect with you wherever in the world you may be. I started my career as a fashion designer, just like my mother before me, and I began my quilting journey 27 years ago when my daughter was born. Fast forward 28 years, and I work with my daughter and nephew, who are tech-savvy creatives that help me bring my tutorials to you. So if you're interested in this type of content, please feel free to stick around." So they do go beyond applique. If you're into garment sewing, there's things there too, but there's something there for everybody who likes to sew, no matter what kind of thing you like to sew. And they have a website as well, and that's where you can buy the patterns and things, and it's just patternpool.com, and I do have that in the show notes as well. So check it out. It's a great site. Okay, so I have pulled down a pattern from my vision board. This is another modern quilt, and this pattern is by Artist Fabric Gallery, which I've talked about before. This is a free pattern. They have tons of free patterns, and if you're into modern quilts, then you're going to like this site. This is called Desert Sunset, and it's very geometric, as you can tell, but picking the colors for this, I don't know if I would necessarily use these colors, although it is called Desert Sunset, so I can see why they picked these particular colors. Now, I think there is a template, I know there is a template to use for cutting the triangles, but I have a feeling there might be another way to do this if you don't want to do it using the templates here. Now, I haven't gone through the pattern in detail. It's just something that caught my eye, and I had to have it, and it was free. You know me, I'm free, right? I download everything. So this is called Desert Sunset, as I said, and it's available on the website Artist Fabric Gallery, and I've put a link to it. And when you go to that link, it'll take you directly to this pattern. But if you back up a level or so, you'll see all the patterns they have. They have quite a few patterns, and they're all free. You just download them. They're in PDF format. So you might want to check this out. When will I get to this, you say? Possibly never. Okay, so moving on. I have a little teaser for you for this week's interview with Andrea Roberts. So I'm going to put that in right here for you right now. Okay, I'm losing it. I don't mean that I'm going to put in the interview teaser with Andrea Roberts. I've already done that. What I'm putting in here is the subscribers quilt of the week, and that is with Teresa De Jong. And Teresa has submitted things before, and I just did an interview with her last week as well, but this is actually not a quilt, but this is a bag. She makes bags as well, and they're beautiful. So that's what I intend to insert in here right now. This week's quilter of the week is Teresa De Jong, who I just recently interviewed, and you can find that on the channel as well. And she says, I have been a quilter for about 15 years, primarily making a quilt for each of my nieces and nephews as they went off to college and into the world. I have a background in garment sewing as my mom taught me to sew at age 8 or so. I think she was tired of making Barbie clothes and taught me to make my own to get some peace and quiet. I was, after all, one of 5 kids. More recently, maybe because I've run out of nieces, I've been making more bags and wallets. My most recent was this purple one with calf facet, fabric, and vinyl. Then a friend wanted one too, in brown. I can't do brown, so I had her find the fabric. She shopped the Lens Mill store online and sent me her choice, so the next one is hers. Now her daughter wants one. As long as they come along one at a time, I'm good. This is, after all, my hobby, passion. I'm not looking to start a business or have a job again. Been there, sewed the t-shirt. So anyway, keep up the great work. I look forward to every video. Thanks. Well, Teresa, your bags are extremely professional looking, and I love your color choices. But then again, I have a preference for K-facet fabrics. But they're both very, very lovely. And recently I've gotten into bag making too, but mine are nowhere near at the level that yours are. So thank you for sending these pictures to us, Teresa. Your bags are wonderful. So now it's time to do the critique of one of my quilts that I've made in the past. And because this week for us here in Canada, today is June the 29th. In a couple of days, it's going to be July the 1st. And July the 1st for us is Canada Day. And I like to put on display some things that I've made as banners for my front doors for Canada Day, but I also have several quilts that I have made. And this particular quilt I'm going to critique is called Canada Day Quilt. Original name, right? It's one I made, it might have been maybe the first or the second Canadian themed quilt that I made. So I'm going to show you it and talk a bit about it. In honor of Canada Day coming up in the next 2 days, I thought I would do one of my own creations that has a Canadian theme to it and critique it. This one I made, I think, maybe only about a year ago, and it was made from scraps that were left over from another Canadian project that I had been working on. These fabrics come from the Old Canada line by Northcott, and I really love those fabrics. And anytime I see them, I try to purchase some more of them. So let's take a look at this one a little bit more closely. Now, the first thing that you notice is the points on my windmill blocks, and they are fine. I have got to the point now where I don't cut off my points. There's a pun in there somewhere. And I'm really pleased with how those turned out. But if you take a look at my borders and my sashing, there's something here that I should have thought about when I was piecing this together. Now, mind you, this is sort of a scrappy quilt because it was made from leftovers. But if you notice the red maple leaves on the light background that are on the first border, they sort of blend into some of the blocks where I use the same fabric in the half square triangles, and that sort of cuts the quilt up a little bit. Now, at first, when you look at this, you may not notice it, but as you study it for another minute or two, you will see that it looks like there's pieces missing. Now, in some ways, I don't dislike that effect, but I should have planned that out a little better, not thinking what would happen. Also, because this is a scrappy quilt, what I did in order to get the half square triangles, I originally just put strips of fabric randomly together and then cut out the half square triangles from those. So you'll see that some of the blocks or some of the triangles in the half square triangles have 2 fabrics instead of just 1 in them, which again, it is a scrappy quilt, so these are things you need to expect. And I don't find that really a distraction. In fact, if anything, I think it might make the quilt a little bit more interesting. But then again, I might just be rationalizing what I had done here. I did put a darker border around it on the outside, and this is not a huge quilt. I'm not sure, I can't remember what it measures, but it's, you know, it's a good lap size type of quilt. The other thing about this is I did do quilt quilting on it. I did do some walking foot, but if you look very closely, and I know it's difficult to see in the video, but if you look at some of the white triangles, I did my attempt at free motion quilting here with just a simple curvy wavy line back and forth. So, you know, practice makes perfect. So overall, I think I did a pretty nice job on this. There are a few things I would alter, but again, it's a scrappy quilt. So when you do scrappy quilts, and if you do them almost as an improv type of quilt, then you get what you get. So yeah, I kind of like it. And so it's going to go on display on Canada Day. So now it's time to talk about the quilt store online of the week. And this one is Appleseed Quilt Works. I just ordered some things from them and I was very pleased with their service. And they do have a physical store and it's located in Lindsay, Ontario, Canada. Lindsay is sort of northeast of me, about 45-minute drive or so. I have never been to their store physically, but I do want to visit it at one point in time when, you know, things open up again. Everything's pending on COVID, isn't it? So I'll just read you how they describe their store. It says, teaching sewing classes has been a lifelong dream of Appleseed's owner and manager, Sandra Faulkner. Growing up, Sandra was taught to sew by her grandmother, who was a talented seamstress, always wearing the beautiful clothes she made herself. Sandra went to Ryerson University and studied home economics, where she took courses in fashion design and construction. Ryerson is in Toronto. After graduation, she became a teacher and taught at a local high school until her retirement. After retiring, Sandra revisited her dream of teaching sewing classes. The local chain fabric store was closing, and she realized that if she didn't open a store now, someone else would. She named the store Appleseed Quilt Works, a nod to her past as an educator, as well as her fond memories of singing Johnny Appleseed as a grace before meals at summer camp and at home. After looking at a variety of properties for the new store, Sandra opened Appleseed at 19 William Street North, which had previously been a Chinese restaurant. She was drawn to the historic building and was excited to find tin ceiling panels hidden behind a more modern drop ceiling. Once the store was renovated, Appleseed Quilts first opened its doors late in 2010. And then she says, Sandra wanted Appleseed to be full of bright, vibrant, and cheerful fabrics that she would personally love to sew. The store focuses on bringing customers batiks, flannels, and current fabrics from major quilting brands. There's also a large selection of farming fabrics and cuddle fabrics. In 2017, the store moved to its current location at 100 Kent Street West. Originally the home bank in 1910, the building was home to Graham's Bakery in the 80s and 90s, followed by Yardy's Office Supplies. A complete renovation was done with new hardwood floors and tin ceiling panels installed, restoring the building to a historic style. An accessible washroom, automated rear door, and front entrance ramp were all built during the renovation. That's something kind of interesting. This quilt store is completely accessible for anybody in a wheelchair or with walking difficulties. That's a good thing, really, especially because, and this is a little aside here, but a lot of quilt stores are in older buildings, and so they've had to retrofit this for that. And although, yes, this is something that is mandated by the government, a lot of quilt stores, because they're very small mom and pop things, that's a major expense for them. So yeah, it's good to know that this store really is thinking about their clientele. Where did I leave off? In 2018, brand new sewing machines were purchased to use in the store for quilting and sewing classes. Sandra and the staff at Appleseed do their best to make sure that everyone who visits enjoys coming to the store and can find what they need. They encourage all levels of quilters and sewists to visit and are able to offer advice and answer questions about a wide range of sewing and quilting projects. I've got to go to this store because they sound like a very warm, inviting, friendly atmosphere to shop in. So their fabric, they have a really good selection of fabric online, and it's $18.99 Canadian per meter and up. And there's a good selection of pre-cuts as well. $18.99 is okay. that's about standard going price. Just as a side again, when I bought fabric at Annie's on the weekend, it was $20 a meter, which is a little bit, for me, a little bit higher on the price scale. They don't sell sewing machines, but they have a really good variety of notions at, reasonable prices, the standard prices. Patterns and kits, they only really show one pattern and a few kits, but seems to be a limited selection, at least online. I would imagine that inside their store they have more to pick from. Their thread of choice seems to be Aurifil. And yes, they do have classes, as they said in their description, but those have been postponed until, again when COVID is over. They do have, though, a quilt along using the O Canada fabric line from Northcott. So if you're interested, you might want to check that out. I love the O Canada fabric line from Northcott. Shipping, they say it's $6.99 for orders under $20. That does not include thread orders, however. For orders $20 to $150, it's $19.99. And it's free shipping on orders over $150. And of course, these are all in Canadian prices. And these are all, of course, for shipping in Canada. I'm not sure about the US. They do say that small orders are usually shipped with Canada Post letter mail without a tracking number. I don't like that. That's one criticism I have of them. I want a tracking number. I really do. Now, they probably don't put a tracking number on it because that probably ups the cost of the postage. But you want to know something? For the difference that it probably will make, I will pay that extra postage for tracking number. And they say it should arrive to 2 to 9 business days after shipping. Don't be in a rush. It's Canada Post. Large orders, they say, will ship with Canada Post with a tracking number. Well, okay, that's good. Large ones. And should arrive 2 to 7 business days after shipping. Canadian orders over $150 ship for free, and for shipping charges over $40, additional shipping charges will be billed separately. I'm finding this on a lot of the Canadian online store sites, and I never realized this before, but they have a limit on, their free shipping. If a lot of them say, if you buy over 150, over 200, over $250, you get free shipping. But a lot of them have a caveat in there that says, like this one, charges over $40. If it's going to cost more than $40 to ship it, then they are going to charge you for the difference on that. Okay. I guess I see what they're doing, like a really large order, well, that eats into their profit margin. So yeah, okay. Do I have a problem with it? Not really. I guess it's okay. And yes, of course, they do have a physical store, as I said. So I ordered online from them. I got my order in less time than they said it was going to take. Shipping was very reasonable. No complaints. I will order from them again. So that's Appleseed Quilt Works. Okay, so that brings me to the end of today's episode. And just a final thought. I ran into a situation. Actually, I've run into this situation on more than one occasion on more than one online store. And that's when you order something, you go to the, you load up your cart, you go through the processing of the whole thing, and it's all done, and your credit card gets charged, and you're waiting for your order, rented lips, to be shipped. Well, then you get a little email telling you they're out of stock of one of the things or several of the things that you ordered. So they'll be shipping your full order as soon as those things come in. No, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. They should have their site set up so that it tells you how much they have left in stock, or if something is out of stock. Now, there's certain online sites I've been to where they do exactly that. They say this number in stock, or it tells you, if you got the picture of it, it says, sorry, out of stock. Fine. A little disappointing, but I'd rather be disappointed at that point than put out the money for it, because it goes right to your credit card, and bang, then I have to wait, and I never know when I'm going to get it. No. You know, that also suggests to me that you're just being greedy. You want the bloody money right up front. Well, you're not giving me the product. I don't mind giving you the money up front, but I expect you to deliver, and I don't want to wait. So if it's out of stock, it's out of stock. Tell me that before I check out. So that really annoys me. And if I get that, and there's a couple of online sites where that happens on a regular basis, I don't go to them anymore. I don't care what it is that they've got. I'll go someplace else because I'm not going to put up with that. That's my little rant for the day. And one other thing, Happy Mail. Okay, I don't usually get Happy Mail, and that's okay because I don't post my address on there, and quite frankly, I don't need Happy Mail because a lot of times Happy Mail, especially I know a lot of people get Happy Mail that are paper crafters. It's basically people's junk that they send to them. But I did get Happy Mail from one of my subscribers, Jules. Thank you, Jules. And Jules sent me this. Yes, she knows how much I love Cafe Facet fabrics. And she was cleaning out her mother's house and came across this book and thought of me and sent it to me. And that was really, really nice. This is a great book. I haven't gone through it all yet, but it's just loaded with patterns for using Cafe Facet fabrics. I mean, you could use other fabrics as well, but it's also a very nice book to look through because, you know, his fabrics are so colorful. So this took a bit of a journey to get here. Jules sent it from the United States, and it sat in the United States for weeks in one spot, and then suddenly they spit it out and it came through to Canada. It took about 6 weeks for this to come to me from, I think she's in Wisconsin, which is really not that far from Ontario. Okay, but you know, nice to see that the US Postal Service is just as reliable as the Canadian Postal Service. Not. So anyways, I was thrilled to get this. So thanks so much, Jules, for sending this to me. And yeah, that was just a really nice thing. And she included a nice little note as well, which I also appreciate. I'm going to take this note and I'm going to tape it to the inside of this book so that I'll always remember that this book was gifted to me by my friend Jules. So thank you. Okay, so that's it for me today. So remember, Craft and Chat is coming up, and Stephen's Creative Birthday Bash is coming up in another 2 weeks, and I hope to see many of you on either one of those or both of them, and we'll talk to you next week. So have a good week. Go out, make something great and creative, and to keep you happy and keep you healthy. Bye for now.